So welcome back to my channel. As always, I hope you're doing amazing. And on this episode of Truckin' It, I want to discuss how the time change affects you. Yes, we just went through it this weekend, unfortunately. And springing forward is going to be a huge problem for some of y'all, especially if you're stuck out on the road or in a team driving environment. So stay tuned, because not only do you risk getting sick, but you also lose an hour of sleep in some cases until your body adapts to your new schedule. Coming up. So, this whole thing about daylight saving time. Face tracking AF, gotta love it. And yeah, that's part of the reason why I wear one of these most of the time. Yep. Daylight saving time happens every year where you spring forward and fall back. Some countries have adopted it, like the United States. Other countries have not. And I think the ones that have not are actually pretty smart. So, first things first. If you're losing sleep at all, this will make it worse. Second, the increased amount of daylight will actually affect how your body works a little bit. And it may cause some issues down the line. And third, with all the viruses going around, less sleep means your immune system has to work even harder while you're awake to fight off some of these bugs that are going around. Especially that new one that everyone's talking about. It's suddenly become a pandemic because the media has blown it out of proportion. And time change can affect you in more ways than one, and especially if you're crossing time zones all the time. Getting adequate sleep is one of the biggest things us drivers have issues with, because the rig's rocking every time a wind gust hits it. Maybe you've got noisy guys parking next to you, especially if you're one of those solo drivers. If you're a team driver, the truck's swaying and vibrating as you're going down the road, and it takes a little while to get used to that. And that's before you factor in time change. So, I really am of the opinion that daylight saving time needs to be ended. It either needs to be made permanent or it needs to stop. But don't listen to me on that, because apparently the government issued officials of the United States of America won't listen to it either. But I do want you to understand this. When there's a time change going on, that you need to be prepared for it. And it's best to kind of adjust your schedule beforehand. Now, what are some things you need to do during this time change period? Well, number one is remember to get adequate sleep. You still need 9 to 10 hours every night, and it's better to lose an hour of daytime than it is to lose an hour of night. And I don't care so much how it supposedly hurts your productivity. Number two is that if you're in a solo environment, you need to get yourself a smoke and carbon monoxide detector for your truck and install it. I don't care what the company has done. This is your second home. And if you don't have these two essential items, chances are, if a fire breaks out, you're not going to be alerted in time. And your fellow driver knocking on your door is not the best way to get the alert. Number 3 is that if your truck has a system like Park Smart, uh, you need to make sure you're getting that service seasonally, because I've had those systems fail before and further contribute to me being sick on the road. And I mentioned Freightliner's Park Smart system specifically since I deal a lot with their trucks, but other systems like APUs need similar services. It is both winter and summer, or every certain number of hours or miles. So, now the time change and how it affects you. A lot of drivers will report increased fatigue around this time of the year, especially with a full moon and a Friday the 13th. Be warned. And a lot of drivers will also report that they will have problems with their allergies, because about this time of the year, as we change seasons, things like pollens, mold spores, and viruses all try to increase their frequency and severity, which means more chance of you getting sick. And I know that virus that's made the news, but it's not just that one. Don't even get me started on the coronavirus, because you just don't want to get sick, period. Uh, Another thing that increases at this time of the year is the number of teenagers on the road getting their driver's licenses, and therefore more of this while they're going down the road, because they're just getting started with driving, and their driver's ed classes and stuff are not teaching them right, even with all the state laws and such about distraction in the car or the cab. So, what can you do to adjust to the time change? First, get some extra sleep. Yeah, I know we all talk about losing an hour, blah, blah, blah. There's no excuse. 10 hours is still 10 hours. And if you're going down the road, after 11 hours of driving, you need a 10-hour break no matter what the time does. Now, what that means is this may impact your ability to take a break. Plan for truck stops that are more full, if you can help it. Be prepared to pay a little bit more for your parking spot. Emergency funds are essential at this time of the year. And I haven't just been hashing it on my previous episodes for nothing. And lastly, just be more aware of your surroundings when you are driving. Be careful, especially if you run night shift like I do, and be safe. So let's make your best trip your next trip, and let's make up for that lost hour of sleep by making sure to add an hour of it. And maybe, just maybe, Find something you do that you enjoy when you're off duty. Maintain your sleep cycle and don't worry about time changes because it will affect us all. It may affect, by the way, and one last thing. If you're worried about time change, get yourself a wristwatch like this. And I didn't say a smartwatch or a fancy watch or a watch that pairs with your phone. I said a cheap watch. One that costs $30 or is otherwise inexpensive that just keeps time. Because anything that requires a charger or a gizmo is likely to fail. Dead battery? What dead battery? I'll see y'all on the next episode. Bye for now.